Have you ever had some deep secret suddenly exposed? Maybe an embarrassing quirk or a dark misdeed from your past. How did you feel when it came out into the open? Humiliation, shame, maybe bitter sorrow? And King David composed Psalm 51 after his terrible misdeeds were exposed. He'd committed adultery with Bathsheba, he got her pregnant, and then he compounded his sin by having Uriah, her husband, killed. And then he sought to save face by marrying Bathsheba soon after Uriah's death. And perhaps he thought his secret was safe. It wasn't until after the child was born that his actions were actually exposed. But exposed they were. And the prophet Nathan, prompted by God, recounted David's actions to his face, and David was undone. Psalm 51 reveals his sorrow, his admission of guilt, and his cry to God for forgiveness. Now, the Hebrew words for broken and contrite in verse 17 vividly depict the snapping of branches or bones, or being crushed under a heavy weight. This is profound sorrow. It's a grief over sin that takes your breath away. You've reached the end of your rope, the place where you can't hide. There's nothing you can do to fix what's happened. And it's a place most of us need to come to at some point. And while God disdains empty religiosity, pious-looking rituals, and self-righteous acts with no heart behind them, he never rejects the contrite person who comes to him in repentance. Because the sacrifice of a broken spirit routes us directly to the sacrifice of Jesus. And through Christ alone, who was broken and crushed in our place, can we find God's forgiving mercy. God may use trial, humiliation, or the surgical knife of his word to cut us open. And when he does, instead of running away in fear or hiding, we can admit our guilt and let it crush us. And this exposure that seems to shatter us in pieces is actually an invitation for Jesus to bind us up and make us whole.